picks, Rogue is going to have to get characters that are not sustainable for ganks. They are not easily abused to being picked off. So Box is one of the better ones because of his mobility. You can dash away. And Rhyme, we see the Rhyme for the second time today. First time he showed off, he was very, very strong, especially against the comp that runs double melee. We've always known that Rhyme runs perfectly against Glaive, and with Arden is two very easy targets that you can land your skill shots on in the front line and it be extremely tanky, allowing Vox in the back line to clean up.
Yeah, and Finn can bring people to the Rhyme as well. That is a dangerous composition, and you know, Hardik, he does play a very aggressive jungle, but I wouldn't say that he's known for his Glaive in particular the way he's really known for heroes like Kashka and Blackfeather.
It's true.
And Gwen, the last pickup.
Gwen, the last pickup, it's more of that they don't have any more laners open. Adaj is taken away, Ringo taken away, Vox, Kestrel. Gwen is the next answer unless you want to go for Baron, but it doesn't seem like NRG has practiced that pick. So Gwen just makes sense. Glaive on, or Hardik on Glaive though, he's not a character, it's not a character that he's been known for, but it's definitely a character that he's played in the past for many, many times. So he's practiced on it.
All right, so talk to me, just looking at these two comps now, how will this play out in your mind?
I feel like Rogue is going to take this one. As long as they don't get snowballed extremely hard throughout the early game, their win composition, their win condition is much easier to execute because you have two very tanky front lines with the Finn, with the Rhyme. The synergy is great between the two. You have Vox in the on the back end, very high damage carry with the open power that I'm going to be expecting him to run. Very strong comp coming out of Rogue. I expect him to take this game. NRG is just going to have to snowball the game, and if they're not able to do that, I don't see them winning this game.
All right, this will be it for the showcase portion of the event. Whoever wins this single match is the champion of the Vainglory Invitational, but then after...
In that sense, maybe that's where we'll see Chambo make the rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sibs right now is going to be farming up quite nicely, of course, having that early edge where Rogue picked up the jungle camps first and were on their side of the map when that fight ended. Has given him a little bit of a speed up over NRG's Hardik, who's a little bit slower and actually at risk of being caught out here. He's got to be careful. Does have the afterburn available, but that's a lot of damage already. He's got to use it the last second, but with that treant going down, oh no, Hardik! He thought he was going to be able to maybe just tap that,
but you know what? You know how close he was to taking that, and he really wasn't in harm's way. You know, holding that afterburn to get himself out defensively. Chambo slingshots him in, but that's them playing on the edge, and they're doing a really good job of that right now.
Yeah, I like the fact that they're willing to make those bold plays and try and get those early advantages any way they possibly can. Right now, I mean, the big difference for me between these two teams, in addition to that early play and the treant, is actually that Gatsby, because he was able to rotate very safely back to lane after the initial fight, has got a decent amount of CS compared to Hammy, right? Like that's the one advantage NRG got from their early play.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small advantage. Hammy was able to farm up the last wave, and you can see it puts him, you know, within a couple CS of Gatsby. So sometimes it can be a little deceptive when you look at that, and maybe he hasn't farmed up the next wave that's coming down the lane. But yeah, Gatsby a little bit ahead, and I think that's one of the things that, you know, we'll come to know and love for Gatsby. He's going to be on top of his CS, and he's going to be making these plays.
All right, so taking a look at the itemization across the board here, Hardik going for that cooldown reduction build, very likely with the Storm Crown and perhaps an Aftershock Tension Bow proc build. Hammy, hard to say for certain if he's going weapon yet. I mean, he's actually only picked up attack speed and armor, which is an interesting way of starting off the game. He's got 1900 gold in the bank. Where do you think he's going to go?
Yeah, I kind of lost track of Hammy there for a second, so I'm not sure if he actually has made it back home yet, but he just hasn't picked up any items.
Hasn't made it back home, I believe. Evil doing a good job of keeping him in safety there. Sips makes his way up also. I think Hammy does need to buy soon, or there's a real risk of just sort of a slingshot, right, where Chambo throws Hardik into the back line. That saves an afterburn for later, and Hammy doesn't have what he needs.
Look at their timing. What's about to happen here? The shop's about to spawn. So these guys have very nice timing, and this is what it's all about. If you can stay in lane and just farm, you get down to the shop at 4 minutes when it spawns, grab your items, that's great. But some players like Gatsby, for whatever reason, for the, you know, maybe they have advantage, maybe they have a moment, maybe they're forced into going back to their base, and they'll get some items that way. I think Gatsby was just a little bit ahead.
All right, well, things remaining quite even. In fact, up until that big minion was killed there, it was in fact 8.8 to 8.8. We do have Hardek picking up his Storm Crown now, maybe going to be able to pressure the jungle a little bit more with that. It does give him a lot of clear potential if he wants to try and invade and just take something down real quick before peacing out. I mean, when does the first initiation happen? Like the first real fight happen between these two team competitions?
Well, there's a couple like big power spikes. I mean, they could technically engage right now, and we see Hardek kind of positioned in that top brush, but he doesn't know that the scout trap's there. So Rogue are probably sitting there and like laughing in their own voice comms right now. Sibs probably has a smile on his face. There, it's going to be popped off, and Hardek realizes, okay, this is why Hammy didn't step forward.
Yeah, I feel like past a certain point, Hammy he gave that away a little bit. Yeah. Like he was sitting so far on the bottom side of the lane for so long. Normally, you don't hedge your bets like that. You know, there could equally be someone in the enemy mustache bush. And you're just putting yourself at risk.
Like a lot of times we talk about their spidey senses, but that was a little bit too obvious. And that's kind of, you know, the pro players, they get into that zone where deception is a big thing.
Absolutely, and really the mind games can come in situations like this, especially with the less experienced players or the ones who have been on the the big stage less frequently. This is of course a live event, so there's that element of it. We do have a nice crowd here at the lair.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely something we have to take into account. At the same time, I think it's really important to give these guys credit for the time they put into the game, because if you look at Hammy, Evolve, they put in hours, right? These guys, they are grinding matches out, so they are incredibly experienced, even if it's not on the main stage.
Absolutely, and Sibs able to just edge into the shop there past Hardek, who was giving him a couple of love taps, picking himself up. The Broken Myth is going to be doing a lot of damage. Interesting first buy, actually, for Sibs. I feel like, we quite frequently see the Eve of Harvest. So do you like going the more aggressive route here?
Well, it's going to mean that they have to respect his damage output. He's naturally very tanky. If you get a Eve, then of course his sustain's intense. But you're going to look to see Sibs get a lot of damage out.
Sibs. Speaking of damage, he wants to go for the fight here. Does land that ultimate onto Gaspy. Gaspy needing to back away a little bit here as Hammy comes in. Doesn't find enough damage, though. Gaspy is going to be able to back away. Sibs also quite low. So it was a fairly even trade. But
like going back to like your point on the Eve. So if Sibs goes for Eve, then you have to respect the control and like a little bit of damage that's coming out of the Rhyme. But you, in your mind's eye, you're thinking, okay, well Hammy's the real threat. Now he goes for Broken Myth, and you're not as worried about what Sibs is going to be, lasting to this fight. You can burst them down, but they're both a damage threat.
Yeah, that is an interesting way of looking at it, and I think when you're pairing it with a Finn, someone who's been banned a lot today, that Finn does a great job of really peeling for those two characters and really providing them the defense that they don't innately have.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why Sibs feels like he can afford to go a little bit more aggressive.
Yep, and I'm curious to see when Sibs does decide to get into his Tier 2 boots. That'll be another big thing for him as he gets into these engagements. Like, if you're playing as a Rhyme, it's really hard to like stick on your target. So having your boots ready to activate is a pretty big deal.
Absolutely is. And Jumbo, spotting out that scout trap here, is making sure that NRG does not get caught unawares. I've got to admit, I feel like he's the unsung hero in the second game already, doing a great job of maintaining vision and being near enough. He kind of orbits them, right? Like he's just on the outer edge of gravity for each of these guys, making sure he can get there just in time. Gold Miner being taken down by Rogue. Can Hardek get in there? Doesn't find it. Does get a good damage onto Sibs. Looking for a little bit more now as Chombo jumps right into that Winter Spire. Sibs has managed to make that distance. Can he go back in for more this fight? Doesn't have the energy regeneration from an Eve, and actually getting knocked back in. This could be a good opportunity for Gaspy. That said, the root comes in. There's the fountain. Perfect timing from Chombo. Double kill picked up by Hardek.
Okay.
He wants a little bit more, but I think Evol likely out of this one. NRG starting things off good this game.
I mean, this game was, for all intents and purposes, dead even. Okay, NRG just straight up outplayed Rogue in this engagement. Chombo holding on to that fountain the whole time. And Hardek, we got to give him huge credit. Hardek engaged, and he was able to get that Atlas off onto the whole team, and that had a huge impact in that fight.
It absolutely did, and yeah, they weren't able to take the gold mine, so there's some element of equivalency maybe in that trade. But I definitely think with 2 kills, NRG did come out slightly ahead. They got some camps as well. Rogue, I mean, how much of this is to do with just sort of the state of the game that we're in right now and the timing of it, right? Because I feel like Rogue ramps a little bit better, and so maybe NRG needs to do more like this for it to be considered really that good a position.
Yeah, I mean, I think on paper you can say, okay, well, Rogue is going to ramp up, and they're going to do a pretty good job. But over on NRG, like Gatsby, he's going to be a major threat on this Gwyn the whole game. Hardic, he's just going to get more and more cooldown. That means the afterburns are going to come out more often. You have to respect it. Chombo's going to scale decently well, and of course the Finn going into late game, you know, that's where Finn loves to live. But yeah, we have to keep our eyes on Chombo. He's kind of breaking the back of Rogue in these fights because he's got the Vanguard onto his allies when they need it. He's got the engage with the Gauntlet when his team needs it. It's been almost perfect.
Absolutely, it has, and I definitely think NRG's showing some serious chops as we move forwards here. They did already win one game. If they win this, they will be crowned the champions of the Preseason Invitational. If you want to see more of these teams, of course, March 11th is the start date of Vainglory 8 when a lot of them are going to be there. Fnatic over in Europe, the rest of these teams, of course, here on the North American side of the broadcast. Rogue, not out of this one yet, can perhaps make something happen. Hardic actually wants to go for the fight, but very low already. Silence, too, using that pass-through damage to take down the turret. The look coming in is not going to be enough to take him down, though. And actually, NRG looks like they might just be able to disengage, even when so much of their focus was on the turret. Rogue still couldn't pick up a kill.
Yeah, I mean, it was really close to them actually finding a kill. At the end of it, Evil holding on to his fountain the entire time, so a little bit of what we've seen coming out of Chombo, but Chombo using his fountain, his Vanguard, everything he had at his disposal to bail his team out of that situation. But at the end of it, you could say maybe Rogue came out on top had it not been for NRG taking that turret down.
Yeah, so very nice work by NRG. They are 2,000 gold in the lead right now, a lead that has been building steadily over the course of the early game. But as we approach 11 minutes, we are starting to get to that point where maybe Sibs, maybe Hammy starts to ramp up a little bit more. It's their opportunity to come back. Hardic has picked up the Aftershock now, though. It's going to give him a little bit more sustain and damage in these fights.
Yeah, Hardic's done a really good job to engage. I think his itemization's super smart. The fact that he went for that Atlas really early, it never really gives Hammy a chance to get into this fight. Like, maybe he's able to reflex that, but there's a lot of other things you're worried about. Like, if Hammy's caught inside of a Gauntlet, a lot of times he's going to just naturally want to reflex and get out of that Gauntlet. If Ace's High comes through, he wants to be able to reflex that. So there's a lot of things he has to deal with right now.
Absolutely. Gold Miners started off by NRG. Hardic trying to take this one on the backside before Rogue realizes what's going on. His teammates going the long way around won't be able to help him out too much here if Sibs just goes for that hard engage. This could be a bad spot for NRG if they're not careful. Hardic wants the gold mine very badly, though, but it doesn't matter. Hammy steals it away. Rogue on pursuit. Hardic's going to back away with that small advantage. Again, I mean, I got to question the positioning of NRG's team there. You know, Hardic going for that wasn't really backed up.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like an axe splitting through wood, though. Rogue took the perfect position on this map, and it forced NRG to split up like that. So, you know, I think it's more credit to Rogue than, you know, a negative for NRG on that one.
All right, well, Rogue, what are they going to be able to do with that advantage they just accrued for themselves? They are catching up quite quickly in the gold department, now only 500 behind NRG. They need to find maybe a kill, maybe a pick in order to take down that first turret, equalize the objectives on the map. NRG, on the other hand, it becomes harder and harder as the game goes on, as you push more turrets to get the next one, unless you're really out of control snowballing. They definitely are not at this point. So Rogue not out of this one.
Yeah, they're definitely not. You know how Hardic was kind of sneaking around that top brush earlier on in the laning phase of this game? I think that kind of surprise tactic is what NRG needs to take a fight right now, because Rogue are starting to get incredibly strong. The Eva Harvest complete for Sibs. You see Hammy, he's ready to crit your face off. So as you get into this engage, like, the element of surprise is huge.
Absolutely, and there is a second Tyrant's Monocle now on Hammy. People talk a lot about this build for the Vox players. The Weapon Power Vox players, of course, does so much damage. You ramp up very, very quickly. I think once he picks up maybe one defensive item, it's going to be pretty hard to deal with Hammy, right? Like right now, he's kind of got that tier 2. Yeah, sure, he's fairly elusive with Sonic Zoom, but really once you have one more, I think he becomes very, very hard for NRG to deal with. And Rogue, they're not actually under pressure right now. Like, they can just farm under their tier 2 turret, at least until Kraken spawns. So they have maybe a minute here, you know, where they can just get Hammy to that point.
Yeah, I think they're in a good position. You know, NRG, though, what they've done, Chombo, you see scout traps everywhere. This is just, Chombo's lived in the middle area of this map. He has control. This is what we talk about when we talk about map control. This is vision, right? We talked about element of surprise, and right now, they're not going to be surprised by Rogue moving out onto the map. And as you mentioned, with Kraken spawning here in about a minute, it's actually going to be incredibly important that Rogue start to take a little bit of that control back.
And Finn is someone who can do that. I mean, if he overextends a little, like his ability to overextend exceeds that of many other roamers. Right? Like he's not too squishy, he's not a Lyra. He can maybe walk up and find some of these scout traps. Has spotted out one with the flare there. But, you know, he does need support if he wants to fully commit to clearing out a lot of this stuff as NRG. Start off the gold miner yet again. Only 30 seconds till Kraken spawns. Might as well take it now. Find yourself a little bit extra gold.
Yeah, I mean, I think a really nice call out of NRG right there. Of course, Evol was there, throws out a flare, but they're all as 3 flexing their power in that tri-bush. So if you move forward, the odds are that you're going to take the positioning away from NRG are very low. And they see no one's farming the lane. That's a flare coming out, so they don't know where we are. So let's just turn around and take that gold mine.
Have a look at the infusions here. We do see them much more fully stacked on the side of Rogue, at least for the time being, as we see Hardek try and move forward here. He might want to go for the fight. That's a huge quibble coming across. Gaspy needs to get out of there, but Hammy is in hot pursuit, finds the kill. Chombo is going to fall. Rogue break through NRG's advantage.
Yeah, Rogue biding their time beautifully on that one. The fact is they really haven't shown their strength. They haven't engaged, like you said, for quite a while in this game. And once they do, it's just like lightning striking. That is so much damage. When Hammy gets onto a target, he is critting. He's getting stacks up on that breaking point, and the infusions you talked about playing a big role there.
You got to be really careful with like recency bias when you're playing this game, because if there was no fight for so long, the last thing you remember as NRG is, man, I mean, Rogue, they're pushovers. We took them down no problem in the last couple of fights. Well, they've been ramping up. They've got the heroes to ramp up with, and if you go in with the wrong mindset, you're going to get crushed. NRG did there. Hardek kicked that off. He went in. They stacked for a quibble. You can't.
Gaspy was too close too. I think Gaspy's positioning, you know, a little bit of a fault there. If he's hanging a little bit farther back, Hammy can't get onto him like that, and he's going to have to just be a little bit more careful.
Hardek managing to steal away the treant there and get away from the quibble this time of Evol. NRG actually making their way down the lane, starting to really position themselves to be aggressive. Rogue, surprisingly, I think actually not maybe pincering around there. That's what I would have gone for. I feel like after that last fight, they should be feeling quite confident. Gaspy does have a Tyrant's Monocle that he's built since that last exchange. Now Infusion's picked up for NRG too. Maybe they want to go for another fight here. Hardek thinking about it. He's going to be jumping onto the back line. Hammy knocked into the aces high. Ooh. The combo keeps on coming. It's going to be enough, though. Yes, Gaspy finds the first kill. Chombo on the front line doing a good job of keeping Sibs off of Gaspy, but Sibs is so sustainable right now. Gaspy pulled in yet again. He's got a kite around the sides here. Winter Spire not going to connect Chombo with the Gauntlet, just buying space for Gaspy to do the work he needs to. Beautiful plays there coming out of NRG as they just managed. Oh, Gaspy! He's going to trade there, but it is the ace picked up for NRG. They're looking to get the Kraken off the back.
I couldn't tell if Kraken was taking favorites there in that engagement. She was mad, though, and she was definitely part of that fight. You know, Jackson, we have to give massive credit to Hardek. You know, historically, people see Hardek as a playmaker. Some people have been critical of his decision-making, but right here, this game, last game, he's been lights out. He engages, he gets an Atlas off. That Atlas hit all 3 of them, and really, he's aiming for him.
Oh, Hammy! He was...
oh, that was close! But he gets it, and then 5 seconds later, Chombo throws his Atlas down. That was such a tough fight for Hammy.
Yeah, it absolutely was. I mean, Hammy not only crowd-controlled by the abilities, but also by those items, like you were saying, couldn't really do very much, and he was a big part of the reason why Rogue had success earlier on. Now with the Kraken on the map for NRG, they might be able to go for a couple of turrets here, perhaps. Gold is basically neck and neck, so Rogue, if they find a good fight, do have what it takes to maybe take down NRG here. It's all about positioning, not getting hooked if you're NRG.
Yeah. Both teams have everything available as far as items and cooldowns right now, except for the Gauntlet for Chombo. So, I mean, both teams almost at full fighting force.
Yeah, and Hammy, I mean, maybe he's waiting just a little bit here to commit for those boots, perhaps, but I feel like they should go for it. That's going to be the reflex block on both the wait for it and the hook. Chombo stunned up on the back line. Gaspy, he gets another aces high on a Hammy, though. Hardek wants to get on the back line. Hammy's been forced very far away from the turret here, but it doesn't matter. Rogue know that over the course of this fight, they can afford to lose. Maybe the turret, if they just take the 2 kills, if they just take the Kraken, they are going to. Rogue now has 30+ seconds to take some control of the map, get some vision. I think that was an okay trade for them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you lose some turrets, you win the fight, so that's about, I mean, I can't say it's the best they could do, but it's definitely not bad for them. Both these teams doing a really good job. Hardy once again engaging, getting that Atlas Pauldron, which is of course slowing the attack speed of Hammy, but Evil was able to get his own Atlas off onto Gaspy in the secondary part of that fight right there, which actually had a huge impact.
Absolutely did. And, you know, when you're fighting by those turrets, things that would normally work out beautifully just can kind of go awry. And Hammy had a lot of pressure on him, had to run back, wasn't dealing necessarily damage to Gaspy, but Gaspy couldn't follow. You know, there was a turret blocking him, which did definitely change things around a little bit. NRG and Rogue, 5 kills to 5. Again, very close to equal gold, although Rogue with the, a lead for the first time in quite some time. NRG got to be careful here. There's no way they realize that Rogue is there. Looks like they are going to back away.
Like
that time, that was spider senses. Earlier, not so much, but...
Yeah. Well, a nice call to go ahead and get back there. Spidey senses, as you said, but the way Rogue were setting up there is beautiful, right? Because as we're talking about, this game is very even, it's very back and forth. Elements of Rise is a huge thing, and if you can pull someone out of position over the wall, maybe not the Glaive, but someone else, it could be really big for them.
All right, Efall. Is he going to find that opportunity he's looking for the hook? You can see the spot. It's a favorite of our competitive players looking for it. Chombo just reactive with the Crucible there. Didn't even need it. Did fall a little bit short.
Chombo reflex in his sleep, man.
You got to wonder if it's good, though, that you're that automatic when you hit that one. Oh, that's going to be the Gauntlet, though, onto Hammy. Hardek following up. Does actually knock Hammy back, though. Maybe buy some time for him to reposition. Hardek and Chombo going in yet again. They're just working together on the front line, but Gaspy isn't attacking right now. He has not been attacking for quite some time, and if you're not attacking as the carry on your team, you're giving a lot of opportunity for the other team to come back into this one. Rogue, can Hammy deal with Hardek on the back line as Gaspy falls very low to Sibs. Sibs with a lot of energy, can keep the fight going. Gaspy looks like he should be the first one to fall. He's going to be going down just barely. Sibs picks him up, and now NRG, they're in a bit of a dicey position. Hardek knows that he needs to get out of this one, trying to get the knockback on Sibs. They are going to be able to get away. I mean, what a fight. That was all over. You saw how far we had to zoom out just to catch all that.
Ring around the rosy right here. Both teams just kind of circling around each other, around that wall area, trying to get the advantage in positioning. At the end of it, though, Sibs able to sit up front.
All right, Hammy's back in the action now, and with the stun down onto Chombo, it could be bad news bears for NRG. He's the first to fall. Rogue have got a Kraken they can back off to if they want to find some kind of an objective from that fight. Gaspy still down for 9. It's all on Hardek to make that miracle steal, or perhaps pick up Achilles. Wants Sibs. Very bold play there, moving in, but they've got a fountain on the side of Rogue. Hardek needs to get out of here. He's moving pretty quick, but Hammy comes in, finishes him off. Rogue, 8 kills to 5. They've got a Kraken. They should be able to pick up here. This thing's starting to look a little bit dicey for NRG.
So, a bit of a wild play there coming out of Hardek. Before that happened, I was about to say Chombo makes his first mistake.
Gaspy, he went a little bit too deep. He was trying to stay on the very edge there, maybe dip in to steal away the Kraken, but going down. Evol with a good hook there.
Yeah, so, I mean, NRG almost flawless last game. The first half of this game, almost flawless. And then finding a way to just kind of crumble here in the last couple minutes. And, credit to Rogue. They were able to take advantage of every mistake that NRG made here, and a really good job.
I feel like NRG, I mean, yeah, they were driving well, but they were driving like 10 and a 50. They weren't really actually at the pace they needed to be for it to make a difference.
Yep. Coming back to that last fight where Gaspy was the one to go down and Rogue didn't lose anybody, that was on a knife's edge of who was going to actually lose their carry there. So a very even matchup, even to that point.
All right, well, Rogue, they've still got to actually do the deed and take down the Vein Crystal if they want to win this one. Kraken, a big boon when it comes to that, trying to make the plays here. Evol does not find The force to court. Stun going on to Hammy. Hardek just buying some time. We really need to see Gaspy doing the damage, though, and that's going to be a huge Valkyrie coming down on top of him. Gaspy needs to get back into the healing platform. He wants to come back into this one. Not going to find a stun, of course, as that was an Aces High onto a Finn. Rogue, are they going to back away, or are they going to commit to just try and end the game right here, right now? Gaspy looking to get the damage down onto Hammy. 2 turrets have fallen with the Kraken up. Rogue, they might just go for the Vein Crystal. It's going to be game. Rogue take down NRG and win the Preseason Invitational.
Look at these guys. Hammy, Evil, happy to be up there playing in front of this crowd. Sibs, feels good, man.
Yeah, you got to be very happy with that performance, especially